Yes, I did get some brand new fish, and yes, these puppies are going into quarantine tonight. And yes, we are going to discuss exactly how to set up a quarantine tank when you get new fish. You ready? Let's go. So the first thing I'm going to do is get some of that old tank water into the new quarantine tank. Maybe not for the reasons you're thinking why, but let me explain. First, I got my handy dandy Python tool. Dip it in, dip it out, dip it back in. We got a pretty good cycle. So what's the point of using old tank water? Not because there's anything beneficial in the old tank water. There's really only nitrates in there right now. But the reason why we want to use some old tank water is because this is eventually the water that the new fish are going to go into. So I want to use 50% of the old tank water just to match the water's pH, to match the water's temperature, and yeah, to match the water's nitrate level as well, because they got to get used to that too. But we're only going to do 50% because the other 50% is going to be brand new fresh water, simulating a water change the way it would normally feel. And I'm going to dose the quarantine tank with all my additives that I normally add every time I do a water change for my African Cichlid. What are those, you may ask? Patience, patience. So we're not at 50% yet, but before the tank gets too heavy for me to move it to the location where it's gonna be, I wanna move it now, obviously. So this is my hospital tank that's been holding my little buddy who's been a little sick. He's doing much better now, so I know that he can go back in the tank, which is part of the reason why I even got new fish. I didn't want to reintroduce him into the main tank all by himself, so it was just another excuse to get new fish. But what my plan is to add him into the new quarantine tank with the new guys, leave them in there together for about a week or two, and then introduce all of them into the main tank together. That way everybody's nice and happy. Don't splash, don't splash, don't splash. Now, let's try to pick up that 20 gallon and get it into that corner. Oh, where's your teenage son when you need him? You get into deadlift form. My foot's in the way. Whoa. Okay, you got me. In hindsight, I should have just got the longer tool, the longer hose, and filled that tank up where it was gonna be, because I thought that was gonna be a lot lighter and easier to move, but it wasn't. Okay, first guy going into the new quarantine tank is the OG OB Peacock, who is doing better, but is a little scared right now. I'm gonna take him out of this 10-gallon hospital, and he's gonna go into the 20-gallon quarantine. Don't splash me, bro. Come into my net, buddy. I won't hurt you. Now let's get rid of this 10-gallon. Oh yeah, I use my Vivison 2600-gallon power pump to drain anything and everything. And even though this is sped up, it was like 30 seconds. Next step is the fun part. Oh yeah. We're gonna get these new guys out of the bags and into the quarantine. Let's check them out. So what I wanted to do, guys, was get a little bit more yellow in my tank. So what did I go with? I went with some Borleys, 3 of them. Actually, one is a Borley, and I forget the name of the other 2 already, but they look very similar. Basically yellow body with a blue and white face. And then I got myself a beautiful albino Eureka. My man is actually kind of orangey, which I love. He just looks like fire. Let's get him out of here. Real quick, I have to shout out my guys from the Fish Hut of New Jersey in Saddlebrook, New Jersey. Every time I go to this place, there's just so many amazing options of African Cichlids, as well as many other species too. It feels like I always end up getting way more fish than I intended to in the first place. Shout out to my man Rich and Junior. Let them know that Kev sent you when you stop by. Here's a look at the albino Eureka. I wanted some yellow, but this guy's orange was just dope. Next we'll go for the one I believe is a Borley. Oh, he's feisty, he's feisty. Beautiful. Look at that blue face. Exactly what I was looking for. Now right here. Check out that size difference. Next guy up. That guy's got a lot of color. Deep, deep yellow and blue. Let's check him out of the bag. Oh boy, this guy's a stud. This guy's a stud. Look at that. What a stud. Oh boy. Finally, last but not least, another similar guy. Like I said, I wanted to add some yellow to the tank. Felt like I had too much blue going on in there. So guys, why am I dumping this bag water and not using it? These guys have pooped a lot inside this bag water since coming back from the store. So I don't want to use any of this poop water that's most likely full of ammonia in the brand new quarantine tank that is not even cycled to begin with. So we'll get into that in a minute too. Here's the last stud. Another bunch of color on him. Beautiful face, beautiful body. All right, I got the 4 studs in there. There's the big huge OB. Compared to these guys now, you see how big he is, but look at that beautiful, there's a beautiful shot. Look at that color on them. Look at that face and that body. But they are really small compared to the big OG, the OG OB. So I am gonna keep a close eye on this tank for the following week because that big guy could absolutely get aggressive with these new guys. But let's get this tank filled up. Let's get this water where it needs to be. The very first thing I'm going to add to this tank before adding in new water is Cichlids Prime. Prime is going to remove all the chlorine in the tap water and is going to detoxify any ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. You only need very little amount for this 20-gallon tank. That is more than enough. Now we'll go ahead and start adding in the new tap water at the similar temperature that this water already is. Not the exact temperature, guys, but similar. Plus or minus 5 degrees is totally fine. Now, besides Prime to take care of the chlorine, the other issue that we're gonna have is making sure the pH is correct for them and the temperature is correct for them. I've already adjusted the temperature at my valves at the sink, and as far as pH, that's one of the reasons why we use old tank water. That old tank water has buffer in it, which is keeping the pH stable. As soon as this tank is filled, we're going to add 10 more gallons worth of product to ensure that the pH remains stable. It's not going to change immediately just because I'm adding tap water. It's not going to shock the fish because I'm going directly tap to tank. But you do need to add in the essential minerals that African cichlids thrive on. What are those? First up, we got Malawi Buffer. What Malawi Buffer does is increase the KH in your tank, which will stabilize the high pH that we need for African cichlids. You only need 1 teaspoon for every 10 to 20 gallons. I got my teaspoon right here. Boom, straight into the tank. That's good to go. Then we got our cichlid lake salt, which provides the minerals that African cichlids needs. These minerals are going to also harden the water because they prefer hard water also. All you need is 3/4 of a teaspoon for every 10 gallons. I'm gonna go ahead and just give them a teaspoon. No harm, no foul. Straight into the tank. That's all she wrote. Mind you, I only added 10 gallons of new water. That's why I'm giving a 10-gallon dose. Now, some of you, I'm sure, have already noticed that my OG OB is already being kind of a butthead to the new guys, which is understandable. They're new to him. He's double their size. So I have a plan for that. Little old $2 tank divider that I purchased God knows where. You know that box of stuff that you have stashed somewhere in your closet and you always got extra stuff like this hanging around? That's where I got this from. And just like that, they're divided. What the? Okay, let's try this again. So while we're checking the new guys out, let's quickly discuss why this quarantine tank does not need to be cycled. Number one, they're only going to stay in here temporarily. So by the time this tank does get cycled, they'll be out of here anyway. That sponge filter is not a seeded sponge filter. It does not have any beneficial bacteria on it. Maybe a little bit, but not enough to actually cycle this quarantine tank. But again, it's not necessary. What's my plan? I'm going to monitor the ammonia levels daily in this quarantine tank, and I'm going to dose Cichlids Prime every day accordingly. Now, these 4 new guys are also being kind of aggressive towards each other. So I gotta keep an eye on them regardless. Now, we can't talk about quarantine if we're not talking about medications, right? So I always auto-medicate any brand new fish that go into quarantine with what I like to call the quarantine couple, or the QC, which is Cichlids Paragard and Cichlids Metroplex. Metroplex can treat internal and external infections, including ick and any internal parasites. And Paragard is great for treating ectoparasites, also like ick, but including external fungal, bacterial, viral lesions like fin rot. Yes, these both can be used together safely, and I've been doing it for a long time, so treat your fish well. I do dose both of these daily for the entire time that they're in quarantine. Metroplex is 1 serving spoon per 10 gallons. Paragard is 1 10 milliliter capful for every 20 gallons. QC administered, baby. That's how I set up a quarantine tank quick and easy when I get brand new fish, and how I medicate. If you want to see those guys get into the main tank In about a week or two, that video will be right there for you. If it's not ready yet, check out this playlist right here, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. Either way, I will see you on the other side. Peace.